The realtor's car pulled away from the curb just as my son's minivan turned onto our street. I watched from the porch, coffee cup warm against my palm, and felt nothing but the morning chill on my face. The for sale sign went into the lawn with 2 clean strikes of the mallet. My son slowed as he passed, his head turning toward the sign, then toward me, his mouth forming a shape I couldn't hear through the windshield. He accelerated into the driveway. I took another sip and stayed exactly where I was. 3 weeks earlier, he'd stood in this same spot and told me I needed to find somewhere else to live. His wife had nodded beside him, arms crossed, while their 2 children played in the yard I'd mowed every Saturday for 30 years. He said it calmly, like he was asking me to pass the salt. They needed more space. The house was too small for everyone. Maybe I could find a nice apartment nearby. I'd listened without interrupting, the way I'd learned to do in all those years of marriage, all those years of fatherhood. When he finished, I'd simply said I'd think about it. He'd looked relieved. That should have told me everything. But it told me something else entirely. I'm 63. My wife died 4 years ago, and the house we built together felt too large without her. When my son called 6 months ago saying he'd lost his lease and needed a temporary place, I didn't hesitate. Temporary stretched, as I suspected it might. His income never quite recovered from whatever consulting job fell through. His wife stopped working after the 2nd child. The temporary arrangement settled into something permanent without anyone saying so out loud. I paid the property taxes, I paid the utilities, I cooked most dinners. I became the tenant in my own home. I didn't mind at first. Grief makes you generous in strange ways. The noise of grandchildren filled rooms that had been silent too long. But generosity without boundaries becomes something else. It becomes expected. Then it becomes invisible. Then you become the problem for noticing. My son stepped out of the van before it fully stopped. His face carried that particular combination of confusion and irritation I'd seen develop over the years, the one that emerged whenever reality contradicted his internal narrative. He walked toward me with his phone already in his hand, probably ready to photograph the sign, to text his wife, to begin the process of making this my fault. "What is this?" he said. "A for sale sign," I said. "I can see that. Why is it in our yard?" The possessive pronoun hung in the air between us. Our yard. Not my yard. Not even the yard. Our yard. As if 6 months of occupancy had transferred the deed through some principle of adverse possession he'd discovered on a legal advice forum. "It's in my yard," I said, "because I'm selling my house." His face did something complicated. "You can't do that." "I can. I am. We live here." "You do. For now." He looked back toward the van, where his wife was unbuckling their youngest from the car seat. She glanced up, caught the trajectory of our conversation in his posture, and her expression hardened into something I'd seen before. The look that said I was being unreasonable, that I was making everything difficult, that I was failing to understand some obvious truth available to everyone but me. "This is insane," he said. "Where are we supposed to go?" "I don't know. The same place you thought I should go when you told me to move out of my own house." That was different. "How?" He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "We have kids." "You do? So you're just going to throw us out on the street?" "No. I'm going to sell my house. The buyer will determine occupancy terms. I imagine they'll want it vacant. You'll have until closing. That's usually 60 to 90 days. "You can't do this." "I already did. The listing goes live this afternoon." His wife had reached us by then, youngest on her hip, oldest trailing behind with a stick he was dragging through the grass. She looked at the sign, at me, at my son, and her mouth became a thin line. "What's going on?" she said. "He's selling the house," my son said. "Our house?" she said. There it was again. Our house. I wondered when the meeting had occurred, the one where they'd decided ownership transferred through cohabitation, through the mere fact of their presence. I wondered if they'd discussed it explicitly, or if it had simply emerged naturally, the way entitlement does, one assumption at a time until the foundation of reality shifts beneath you, and you don't even notice because you've never had to look down. "His house," I said, "which I'm selling." "You're doing this to punish us," she said. "No, I'm doing this because you told me to leave. I'm simply handling the logistics differently than you anticipated." "We never said you had to leave right away," my son said. "You said I needed to find somewhere else to live. I've decided to do exactly that. I found a condo downtown, 1 bedroom, perfect for 1 person. I close on it in 45 days. I expect to close on this house around the same time." "You already bought a place?" His voice pitched upward. "I did." "Without telling us?" "Why would I tell you? You told me to move out." "I'm moving out." "We meant eventually. We meant we'd figure something out together." "No. You meant you wanted me to leave so you could have the house. You just didn't expect me to take it with me." The silence that followed had weight. The kind of silence that precedes recalibration, where people decide whether to acknowledge reality or double down on their narrative. My daughter-in-law chose the latter. "This is incredibly selfish," she said. "Perhaps. We've been helping you. You've been alone. We kept you company. You've been living rent-free in my house while I paid for everything. I appreciate the company, but let's not pretend the arrangement was charitable on your end. We would have helped. With costs if you'd asked. I shouldn't have to ask. You're adults. This is still our home. No, it's my house. There's a difference." My grandson had stopped dragging his stick and was watching us with the quiet attention children develop when adults pretend they're not fighting. I smiled at him. He didn't smile back. He knew. "We need to talk about this inside," my son said. "There's nothing to talk about. The house is listed. I'm moving. You'll need to make arrangements." "And if we refuse to leave?" "Then the new owners will evict you. I'd prefer you avoid that. It's unpleasant and it damages your rental history." "You'd really do that to your grandchildren?" "I'm not doing anything to them. I'm selling my house. You chose to create a situation where their housing was dependent on my continued tolerance of being told to leave my own home. That was your choice, not mine." His face had gone red, the way it used to when he was a teenager, and reality contradicted his preferences. He'd learned early that emotion could substitute for argument, that volume could replace logic, that making people uncomfortable could win concessions. It had worked on his mother sometimes. It had never worked on me. "We'll fight this," he said. "There's nothing to fight. I own the house. I can sell it whenever I choose. We have rights. You have the rights of tenants, which are considerable. I'll follow every applicable law. You'll receive proper notice. Everything will be documented, but the outcome won't change." His wife had shifted the baby to her other hip and was scrolling through her phone with her free hand, probably texting her mother or searching for tenant rights or calculating how quickly they could find something affordable, which in this market meant nothing at all. "You're really going to do this?" she said. "Not a question." "I really am. After everything we've done for you." "What have you done for me?" She looked up from her phone. "We've been here. We've kept you from being alone. I was alone before you came. I'll be alone after you leave. The difference is I'll be alone in a space I chose, not one I was told to vacate." "You're being vindictive." "No, I'm being practical. You identified a problem, me living in this house with you. I'm solving it." "Not like this." "Exactly like this." She turned to my son. "Talk to him." I tried. Try harder. But he didn't. He looked at me with something I couldn't quite identify, something between betrayal and recognition, as if he was seeing me clearly for the first time in years and didn't like what he saw but couldn't articulate why. I was supposed to be smaller than this. I was supposed to be manageable. I was supposed to absorb their decisions and accommodate their needs and never ever remind them that this was my house, my money, my life. They'd been rearranging to suit themselves. "Fine," he said finally. "We'll be out by the end of the month. You don't have to rush. You have until closing." I meant what I said about proper notice. "We'll be out by the end of the month," he repeated, and turned toward the house. His wife followed, hiking the baby higher on her hip, herding their older son ahead of her. The door closed behind them with more force than necessary. I stayed on the porch and finished my coffee while the morning traffic passed, and the sun climbed higher, and the for sale sign stood exactly where I'd watched them plant it. That evening, my daughter called. She lived 3 states away, worked in medical research, visited twice a year. We spoke every Sunday, video calls where she'd show me her apartment or her latest project, or the view from wherever she'd gone hiking. She'd never warmed to her brother's wife, had predicted this exact situation years ago when they'd first asked to move in. I'd dismissed her concerns. I didn't anymore. "David called me," she said. "I imagine he did. He says you're throwing them out. I'm selling the house. They can interpret that however they need to. He's very upset. He should be. He created this situation. He says you're being vindictive. He's entitled to that opinion." She was quiet for a moment, the kind of quiet that means someone is choosing their words carefully. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." "Really? Really? I should have done this months ago." "What changed?" "He told me to move out. That clarified things." "Good." I could hear the relief in her voice, the kind that comes from watching someone finally set a boundary you've been advocating for years. She'd seen what I'd been slower to recognize, the way his needs had slowly eclipsed my existence, the way his wife's presence had altered the household power structure, the way I'd been diminished in my own space without quite realizing it was happening. "Where are you moving?" she asked. "A condo downtown, 2 blocks from the library, walking distance to the market." "That sounds perfect." "It is." "And the house will sell quickly?" "The realtor thinks so. Good neighborhood, good schools, good bones." "When do showings start?" "Tomorrow." "That fast?" I told her I wanted it done. "And David knows all this?" "He does now." She laughed, the kind of laugh that contains equal parts amusement and vindication. I wish I could see his face. It was educational. I bet. What did he say? That I couldn't do this, that they had rights, that I was being selfish. Of course he did. He seemed genuinely surprised that I'd sell my own house. "He thought you'd just leave it to them." "He did. That's not how inheritance works." Apparently he had a different understanding. Apparently. We talked for another 20 minutes, covering logistics and timelines and the condo's floor plan. She offered to fly out and help me pack. I told her it wasn't necessary. She said she'd come anyway. I didn't argue. When we hung up, I sat in the quiet house and listened to the sounds of my son's family moving around upstairs. Footsteps, muffled, voices, a child crying, the ordinary sounds of ordinary life, which would continue in someone else's house, under someone else's roof, with someone else's patience. The showings began the next day. My son and his wife made themselves scarce, taking the children to the park or the library or anywhere that wasn't here. The realtor brought couples and single buyers and investors with clipboards. They walked through rooms I'd painted and floors I'd refinished, and the kitchen where my wife had taught both children to cook. They asked about the roof and the furnace and the foundation. They took photos and measurements and notes. They talked about potential and square footage and comps. After the third showing, the realtor pulled me aside. "This will move fast," she said. "Good. Are you sure about the timeline? We could extend closing if you need more time." "I don't need more time." "And the current occupants?" "Will be notified properly. Everything by the book." "They're your family?" "Yes." She nodded, asking nothing more. She'd been doing this long enough to recognize family dysfunction when she saw it, to understand that the cleanest transactions often came from the messiest situations. She'd sell the house and collect her commission and never think about us again. I envied her that. The first offer came 3 days later. Full price, cash, 30-day closing. The buyers were a young couple relocating for work, no children yet, both with good jobs and better credit. They wanted vacant possession. I accepted immediately. My son was in the kitchen when I told him. He was making sandwiches for his children, peanut butter and jelly with the crusts cut off, arranged on plates with apple slices and pretzels. Domestic tableau, father providing, doing his best. I felt nothing. "I accepted an offer," I said. His hand stopped mid-spread. "Already?" "Yes." "How long do we have?" 30 days. 30 days? That's not enough time. "It's plenty of time. People move with less." "Not with kids?" "People with kids move all the time." He set the knife down and turned to face me. "Where are we supposed to go?" "I don't know. Have you started looking?" "Looking where? Do you know what rent costs right now?" "I do. You might have considered that before telling me to move out." "We didn't mean immediately. You meant eventually, which means you knew this conversation would happen. It's happening now instead of later. The timeline is the only difference." "The timeline is everything." "Then you should have established one when you asked me to leave." His wife appeared in the doorway, drawn by our voices or his tone or the particular frequency of tension that carries through walls. She looked at him, at me, and her expression hardened. "How long?" she asked. 30 days, he said. "That's impossible." "That's what I said." "Can you extend it?" she asked me. "No. Can't or won't. Both. This is unreasonable. This is real estate. The buyers want vacant. Possession." I agreed. "We could refuse to leave." "You could. Then they'd sue for specific performance and you'd be evicted and still have to pay their legal fees and damages. I don't recommend it." She stared at me, looking for leverage, finding none. "You've really thought this through." "I have." "You planned this whole thing." "I responded to circumstances you created." "We created?" "You told me to move out. I'm moving out. You assumed I'd leave the house behind. I'm not." "That's not what we assumed." "Then what did you assume?" She opened her mouth, closed it, looked at my son, who was staring at the half-made sandwiches as if they contained answers. Neither of them spoke. The silence extended until it became its own answer. 30 days, I said again, and left them in the kitchen with their children's lunch and their collapsing assumptions and whatever conversation they needed to have about how they'd miscalculated so completely. I spent the next week packing. Decades of accumulation sorted into boxes or donation piles or trash bags. My wife's clothes had been dealt with years ago, but her books remained, her recipes, her gardening tools, the small objects that mark a life lived in one place. I kept what mattered. The rest went to charity, or neighbors, or the curb. My son's family began their own packing, though with less system and more panic. I heard arguments through the walls about money and storage and deposits they couldn't afford. His wife's mother called and offered their basement. They declined. Pride, probably, or the recognition that they'd created this situation, and couldn't quite bring themselves to explain it to her parents. 2 weeks before closing, they found an apartment. 2 bedrooms, 40 minutes from here. More than they wanted to pay. Less than they needed. My son told me about it like he expected sympathy. I told him congratulations. He looked like I'd struck him. "We're going to need help with the deposit," he said. "No." "What?" I said no. "You're not even going to consider it?" "There's nothing to consider. You need to learn to solve your own problems. We wouldn't be in this situation if you hadn't sold the house. You'd be in this situation eventually. I simply accelerated the timeline." "You're really not going to help us?" "I really am not. Even though this is your fault?" "This isn't my fault. You told me to leave. I'm leaving." "I didn't mean like this." "Then you should have been clearer about what you meant." He left without another word. That night I heard him on the phone with his sister. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone carried. Frustration, betrayal, confusion about how the reasonable father he'd known had become this intractable stranger. I felt no obligation to explain. He'd treated me like an obstacle. I'd become one, cause and effect. The day before closing, I walked through the empty house one final time. Rooms that had held a marriage and a family and 40 years of ordinary. Life now echoed with my footsteps. The walls showed rectangles where pictures had hung. The floors showed wear patterns from furniture now gone. It looked smaller without our lives filling it. Just walls and windows, and the bones of shelter. My son's family had moved out 3 days earlier. No goodbye, no acknowledgement. Just a rental truck, and a morning of loading, and the sound of the engine fading down the street. My daughter had flown in to help me with the final details. She'd walked through with me, room by room, and said nothing until we reached the kitchen. "You did the right thing," she said. "I know." "Do you think he'll ever understand that?" "I don't know. Probably not." "Does that bother you?" "Less than it should." She squeezed my hand. We locked the doors and drove to my new place, where boxes waited and a different life was about to begin. The closing took 40 minutes. Signatures and notarizations, and the mechanical transfer of property from one owner to another. The young couple was nervous and excited, asking questions about the neighborhood and the schools and the best places for coffee. I answered what I could. They thanked me for taking such good care of the house. I told them it had taken good care of me. They smiled, not understanding, not needing to. I moved into the condo with help from my daughter and a few neighbors who'd watched the whole situation unfold with quiet approval. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a kitchen just large enough, a balcony overlooking the street. Everything I needed. Nothing I didn't. The first night, I sat on that balcony with a glass of wine and watched the city lights come on, and felt the particular peace that comes from being exactly where you chose to be. My son called 2 weeks later. I let it go to voicemail. He called again the next day. I answered. "How's the new place?" he asked. "Good. The apartment is smaller than we thought. Most apartments are. The kids share a room now." "I see. It's been an adjustment." "I imagine so." Silence. Then, "I think I understand why you did it." "Do you?" "You wanted us to understand what it felt like." "No. I wanted to stop living in a house where I'd been told to leave." "It's not the same thing." "It's exactly the same thing. You wanted me gone. I made myself gone. You just didn't expect me to take the house with me." More silence. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "For what?" "For telling you to leave." "Are you sorry you said it, or sorry about the consequences?" "Both." "That's honest, at least." "Can we fix this?" "The house is sold. I'm settled. There's nothing to fix." "I meant us." "That depends on you." "How?" You need to decide if you're sorry you hurt me or sorry that hurting me had consequences. Those are different things. I'm sorry I hurt you. Then we'll start there. We talked for a few more minutes, careful and formal, two people re-establishing boundaries after they'd been erased. When we hung up, I didn't know if we'd speak again, soon, or if months would pass first. It didn't matter. I'd stopped measuring my life by his needs. My daughter stayed another week, helping me unpack and set up and explore the neighborhood. We found a coffee shop I liked and a bookstore with comfortable chairs and a market with good produce. She met my neighbors, who were younger than me but friendly, who invited me to building events and offered help if I needed it. The life I was building felt smaller than the one I'd left, but it was mine in a way the house hadn't been for months. On her last night, we had dinner on the balcony. She'd made pasta, my wife's recipe, and we ate while the sun set and the street below filled with people heading home from work or out for the evening. "You seem lighter," she said. "I am." "Do you miss the house?" "Sometimes, but I don't miss feeling like I had to apologize for existing in it." "He really expected you to just give it to him." "He did. That's insane. It's entitlement. It looks like insanity from the outside." She laughed. "Well, you cured him of that." "Maybe. Or maybe he'll just be more careful about how he asks next time." "Either way, you're out." "Either way, I'm out." We finished dinner and cleaned up, and I drove her to the airport the next morning. She hugged me hard before security, the kind of hug that says, "I'm proud of you, and I was worried, and I'm glad you're okay all at once." "Call me if you need anything," she said. "I will." "I'm serious, anything." "I know. Go catch your plane." She went through security and waved before she disappeared into the terminal. I drove back to the condo through morning traffic and parked in my assigned space and took the elevator up to the 3rd floor. Inside, everything was exactly where I'd left it. My coffee cup in the sink, my book on the table, my life, small and contained and entirely my own. I made fresh coffee and stood on the balcony and watched the city wake up. Somewhere across town, my son was getting his kids ready for school in an apartment that cost too much. Somewhere else, a young couple was hanging pictures in the house I'd built. And here I was, drinking coffee in the exact place I'd chosen to be, with no one to answer to and no one to accommodate, and no one who could tell me to leave. The realtor's sign had come down 2 days after closing. The lawn would need mowing soon, but that wasn't my problem anymore. Someone else would stand on that porch with their coffee and watch their own children play in that yard and build their own memories in those rooms. They'd probably be happy there. I had been. Once. Before happiness became contingent on making myself smaller. My phone buzzed with a text from my son. A photo of his youngest on a playground, smiling at the camera. No message, just the photo. An offering, or an olive branch, or just a father sharing his child with his father the way people do. I sent back a thumbs up. Small acknowledgement, minimal engagement. The boundaries I'd set, holding firm. I didn't know if we'd rebuild something functional, or if this distance would calcify into permanent estrangement. I didn't know if he'd learned the lesson I'd tried to teach, or if he'd simply nurse his resentment and pass it down to his children as an inheritance of grievance. I didn't know if his wife would ever stop seeing me as the villain in her story, or if they'd eventually understand that eviction starts long before anyone calls the sheriff. What I knew was this. I was 63 years old. I'd buried my wife and raised my children and built a life in a house that no longer felt like home. I'd been told to leave, and I'd left. But I'd done it on my terms with my assets intact and my dignity preserved. I'd sold the roof over their heads because they'd asked me to remove myself from under it. They'd wanted me gone. I'd made sure they understood what that actually meant. The coffee was good. The morning was clear. The balcony caught the sun just right. Below me, the city moved through its routines. Thousands of people solving thousands of problems, most of them harder than mine. I'd solved mine with a for sale sign and a backbone I'd forgotten I had. It felt good. It felt right. It felt like justice delivered not through revenge, but through the simple act of refusing to be erased. I finished my coffee and went inside and started my day. Unpacked the last boxes, arranged books on shelves, hung the pictures that mattered, built the life I'd chosen in the space I'd claimed. Somewhere, my son was doing the same thing, learning the same lessons I'd learned decades ago about consequences and responsibility and the weight of your own decisions. I hoped it would serve him better than entitlement had. But that was his journey now. Mine was here, in this condo, in this life, in this choice I'd made to stop accommodating and start existing. The house was sold, the sign was down, the transaction was complete, and I was exactly where I belonged, in a space no one could tell me to leave, under a roof I'd sold out from under them because they'd forgotten it was never theirs to keep. The sun climbed higher. The city hummed. The coffee grew cold. I smiled and started unpacking.